Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Join the Party, Become an Ambassador session. So excited to have you guys here. We're going to go ahead and get started this morning. Kat, is there anything you want to start us off with before we jump in? I think you're on mute.
Let's try that again. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our Lumio Global event. Today, we are going to be looking at how to become an ambassador. I know many of you have had the opportunity to join us for our fun, fresh professional development opportunities, highlighting how Lumio can provide that fluid workflow for both teachers and students. My name is Kat Degar, and I am a professional development specialist from South Carolina. And this webinar, Join the Party, Become a Lumio Ambassador Today, features Casey, Global Community Engagement Manager from Texas. We encourage participation. If you have any questions, I will be monitoring the chat, so please feel free to ask them in the chat box during the presentation, and we will either integrate them into the flow or hold them to be answered at the end. We will also be sharing resources from today's webinar in the chat, and for participating today, a certificate will be provided after you complete a brief survey. At this point, I'm going to turn things over to Casey so that we can dive into today's webinar on becoming a part of our Global Ambassador community.
Thanks, Kat. Well, I'm so excited for all of you guys to be here today. I have put in the chat a link to my class so you can join today's session. We're going to look at a couple things together first, and then you're actually going to build something alongside me so that we have something to submit for your application today. So Kat will also put the link back into the chat. So in case you missed it as you're coming in, you'll have that front and center. You also can go to hellosmart.com and enter my class ID 11311. But the fastest way is to just click on the link that Kat's going to drop in the chat for you. And of course, you can use this QR code as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So as Kat said, my name is Casey Germanic, and I'm the Global Community Engagement Manager for both SMART and Lumio. And I am excited to work with all of our ambassadors, our community at large, and our certified trainers as well. I am from the classroom, so I had 20 years in education before starting with SMART and Lumio. I was a elementary teacher, and I focused the last 11 years as being a gifted and talented teacher for kinder through 5th grade. And that was definitely where my heart lies. I loved working with those students. I also was a technology coordinator for my district and worked on writing curriculum for the gifted education program that we had. I would love to connect with you and stay in contact with you. So you can, of course, email me if you have any questions. You see my email address here, as well as my Twitter handle. You can also just scan this QR code that's in the corner, and that will bring up my contact information that you can save and reach out to me at any time with any questions you have. All right. So first, I wanted to just know a little bit about where everyone's joining from today. So this is a whole class whiteboard. I'm going to click on class progress. On your side, you can hit resume. And when you hit resume, you will see that you have some pins over in the bottom left corner. So you can drag a pin and kind of put it somewhere on the map to show where you're coming from today. I'm coming to you from Texas, Central Texas. So I'm going to just place it right about here. Looks like I have some other people in the South with me. Northeast, like we have some people from all different areas. So love seeing these pins coming in. So if you are not familiar, you probably have seen many whole class whiteboards in your different sessions for Lumio Palooza. It's definitely one of my favorite tools, and I like the versatility and the different ways that you can use it. In this case, we're just doing some drag and drop, right? And getting a quick heat map so we know where everyone's joining from. But we could, of course, have ones where our students are sharing ideas, where we're collecting different information from each other as well, which is lots of fun too. And then just as a reminder, in a whole class whiteboard, you always have the option of pausing editing. So if you need to have a discussion with your students, go over directions a little bit more clearly, you can pause that. And as soon as you pause, that's going to keep students from being able to continue to move pins or interact with the content whatsoever. I also like to, if I'm going to share a lesson with students to access from home, I will also turn off editing on any whole class whiteboards. That way I know that they can still see the information, but I don't have to worry about them adding information and worrying about whether they're being appropriate or not when I'm not seeing it live. So that's a good tip. And then, of course, with whole class whiteboards, I love that I can click on any of the icons and I can see Devin is the one that placed this pin here. So I love that I have the ability to pop in and see who's moving what content and sharing. All right, looks like we have a lot of people from North America here today, so welcome. Let's go ahead and continue on. Okay, so I wanted to just take a moment to find out a little bit more from you on what you want or need in an ambassador community. So one of the things that I'm excited about is we are going to be continuing to work on improving and making changes to our community platform, so it's really welcoming and helpful for all of our ambassadors. So I'd love to know more about what you guys want and need from this type of community. So in just a moment, I'm going to convert this into a whole class whiteboard, but this time you will use the A to click and type your answers. So you're going to click on that A in a moment. You don't see one now because right now it's view only for students. But when I convert this, you're going to click on that A and click on your screen and you can type. As you see other people typing, what I'd love for you to do is think about whether what comments they have that really connect with you. So if there's something that you really like that someone said, you could drag this infinitely cloned heart to their comment. If you want to add on, so maybe you see someone's comment and it makes you think of something you want to add on to what they say, drag this arrow and then use a text box to add on your idea as well. Or if something really squares up with your thinking, you're like, yeah, I totally get that, then you're going to drag that green square to that comment as well. So that's a great way for a silent chalk talk, right? With students, you could do with chart paper and things like that, but you can also do it digitally. So you saw earlier that first map was already set up to be a whole class whiteboard, which is great, but sometimes I like to wait to convert it till I can speak to my students first. That way they can't just jump in and they have to get the instructions first. So I'm going to click now on the class management button in the top left corner, and that's going to pop out where I can choose how I want to convert this activity. In this case, I want to choose to convert it to a whole class whiteboard. So I'm going to do that in real time. And so now when you look at your page, you're going to have the option to use that text box and add your different ideas. Hopefully, looks like mine is frozen in black mode. Hopefully yours is showing up on your end. I'm refreshing, so it may cause you to have a little bit of an issue for just a moment. Let's see what happens here. All right, so I'm going to hit class progress. You guys should be able to hit resume, and now you should be adding text onto the page as well. I appreciate all ideas coming in. This really helps us as we continue to make sure that we're doing the best we can to be a supportive community for all of you. Any questions, Kat, as people are adding their different ideas onto the whole class whiteboard?
No, ma'am, not yet.
All right, so empower, inspire, and celebrate. Love that. Learn from leaders, share with colleagues, serve students better. I learned so many different things from communicating with different educators in the community. So I agree. I love that I can really be inspired on a regular basis. Training material support. I love that someone brought this up. We actually have, once you're part of the ambassador community, one of the things that we have is a Lumio certified trainer cohort. So if you want to become a Lumio certified trainer, there's a private group in our community that you can join, and there's coursework that you can do asynchronously, so you can do it as you have time. And once you complete that coursework, you'll be part of our certified training community. And that's really where we can share ideas, training materials, things like that as well. So it's a great community to be a part of. So keep that in mind once you're in the cohort. Great, we're here to learn about the community. This is a great place to do that. Awesome. I love seeing all of these ideas. One of the things I will say as we get going is that we want to learn too from you guys. So part of being part of the ambassador community is that you do have some more connections, direct connections to our developers who want real insights into what's working, what's not working. And they want to be able to get it from people that they can trust to really play around and get into the groove. And so that's where you guys can really come in as well. So I think it's great to see all of this. This looks awesome. I can't wait to go back and really dive a little deeper into some of your different responses. I love this. There's a lot of, I see the library setting. I noticed there's a question from a librarian in our Lumio Educators Facebook group too, looking for ideas of how librarians and media specialists are using Lumio in their area. And I know we have many librarians in our ambassador community. So I would love to see you guys connecting and sharing content, sharing ideas too. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next page. So just know, because I'm in teacher pacing, when I move, you're going to move as well. So you will be taken out of this page in just a moment. All right, so why? So for me, one of the big things to becoming an ambassador is just having a community of people that are using a tool that I'm using and are walking the same walk that I'm walking. You're dealing with similar situations, and being able to lean on each other, learn from each other, I think is really powerful. And I love too that our community is global. It's a great way to connect your students with students in different countries. And so they can get insights. Not all of our students can travel around the world. And so having the ability to get them connected with others, I think is really powerful. So they can see all of the commonalities we have in place. Of course, tips and tricks, we want you guys to have access and to know about things well before everybody else. So you'll always know about new feature releases. You'll get sneak peeks on things well before we release it out to the public. So that's a great way reason to be in there. And we also ask for your feedback on features so that we can get the developers to improve and work on those before they're out for others as well. And we have just 2 quotes here that I thought were really great. We're all very blessed to live in a global village. And then I love all the collaboration and sharing that takes place. And to me, that's really where it's at. I just got back from ISTE and I had a chance to meet with so many of our ambassadors that were there, sharing ideas, connecting with others. And I just think there's so much power in building that community. All right, so the way that we're going to kind of break things down today is our ambassador application is really, and becoming an ambassador, I just want you guys to know, is for everyone. You do not need to be an expert in Lumio to be part of this community. There's ways that you can, level up to a silver or gold as an ambassador if you want to, but really we want this to be a space that everyone's welcome, everyone's there to learn. You may be coming in where you're mostly going to be just sort of a voyeur at first, right? Kind of watching. That's how I joined Twitter the first few years when I was on Twitter. I was just watching what was happening and taking it in before I started sharing ideas as well. And that may be where you start to land. And then as you get more comfortable and start to get to know people, then you start feeling comfortable sharing ideas as well, which is really, really great too. So the idea is we want everyone to feel like they have a home in the community. So don't feel like you have to come in as an expert and know how to use Lumio right away. If this was your first couple of days playing around with Lumio, you're still welcome to the ambassador community. Everyone is. The application, as part of the application, there's a few questions that you have to answer. And then one thing that you need to do is share a teacher share link to a Lumio activity or lesson. And so we're going to actually build one today. I'm going to show you an idea of something you can use for back to school time that's really fun for students. It can be fun for you too. When we build it, you do not have to build the exact same thing that I am. You can definitely go your own direction, but this is a great way to have something that's ready to go for back to school time. And for me, back to school time is all about building those relationships, because I really agree with this quote: no significant learning can occur without a significant relationship. So if my students don't trust me and feel like I know them, if they don't feel like they know me, then it's really hard for us to have a relationship where they feel like they can take risks and do those hard things in class. And I want them to do those hard things. So that relationship piece is really key to me. Any questions, Kat, before we continue on?
No, Casey, it's going great. And I think everyone is very excited to see our build.
Okay, excellent. So one of the things that I love to do is let my kids know a little bit me and who I am. So a quick and easy way to do that is through a game. So I'm going to move to the next page, and you're going to see that there's a super sort game. I'm going to go ahead and hit model activity, but you can hit start on your end. So this is really a fact and fiction all about me. So what my students are going to do is they're going to see what they think is true, factual about me, and what they think may be fiction. So what they will do is they will drag into and see if it's true, a fact, or if it's a fiction, and then pull it in. So that will help them get to know a little bit about me. So they now know that I don't only have one dog. So, or I may have no pets, or I might have more than one dog. So that's one thing they've had a chance to learn already about me. And you can always sneak in some things that will help them. So for example, I always want to subtly let my students know that I do not, in fact, love coffee. So perhaps I don't need 85 gift cards to Starbucks, but instead I would take a Dr. Pepper instead. So just it's always fun to let kids know, or I love them to know that I love, like what kinds of tools you like. This is a great way you can subtly let them know you love to have flare pens or Post-it notes too. So if their parents are looking for a nice thank you gift for you, they have something to go on. They know a little bit about who you are. So this is a quick and easy one, really easy activity to build. Super sort can be built in 5 minutes or less. I spent a little bit more time building mine because I use my Bitmojis to add a little bit of customization, but you don't have to do that at all. So we'll talk about how to build a fact and fiction about you with our super sort activity. Like I said, can be built in 5 minutes or less. And then what's fun too is now with super sort, we do have an activity dashboard. So I, as a teacher, can click on view progress. I can see that I have 13 people that have not started, or 12 now. I can see who's in progress and how many have completed the activity. I can also see the show results. And I can see the most frequently missed answers. I can see a lot of people picked that I thought that it was a fact that I prefer to write with a flare pen. And I will say I do love a flare pen. It's probably my favorite pen, but I am a pencil. I love writing with a pencil. Have quite a few, like always lived in Texas. That is not true. I was an Air Force brat, so I grew up all over the world. And that my mom is from Texas, so we came back and have been here for a long time. So kind of fun that I can see this information right here to share as well.
All right, Casey, I have to hop in and ask this. You had a pet moose?
Yeah, so I have people usually miss that one. I lived in Alaska when I was in middle school, and number 14 chased us to school, and then chased us home from school, and then decided he liked our house, and so he was there every day, living in our front yard as our pet moose. Old number 14. It was lots of fun.
Learning something new about you today.
So super sort, super fun. I love that I can see student data, and I love, obviously this one, I don't necessarily need to know student data because obviously I'm not grading the kids on how well they know me, especially when this is a getting to know you activity. But if this was one where I did want to use it as assessment, I can choose student progress. It'll always remind you not to share this if you're sharing it whole screen for your kids to see. We can peek in because you're not getting really graded. So I can see how students did. I can actually click and see their answers as well. So I love that I can drill down even further with the student progress versus the class progress. All right, any questions about the super sort? So we're going to build a super sort. That's one of the first activities that we're going to build. But one of the things I like to do with games is I always like to follow it up with an activity. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But before I do, any questions coming in, Kat?
No, we're good.
All right. So for me, the games are great. I especially like them now that I have data around it, but I usually like my students to have to do some kind of reflection, sometimes some type of activity that connects or follows up to the game. In this case, though, I want them to create their own version of fact and fiction about themselves. So what I have here is I used one of our ready-made graphic organizers, and I love that all of our ready-made graphic organizers can be customized. So this is not how it was set up originally. I'll show you what this graphic organizer is when we start to build, but this could be set up in any way that you want. So here's what I'm going to have. If I was in the classroom, what I would have my students do is I would convert this into an individual handout. So each student has their own copy. And what students are going to do is they're going to write 3 facts about themselves and 3 fibs about themselves in this bottom section here. And we want them to be mixed up. So we don't want them, and don't want them to be color coded. So we don't want our 3 facts in one color and our 3 fibs in a different color. We want them where it's not easy to tell which one is a fact or a fib. And what's great is I would have, once my students have built this, and as a handout, what we would have is we would have them take their devices and pair up, and they would play the activity with a partner. So their partner would drag and drop their sentences on whether they think it's a fact or a fib up here. And once they've done that, the students can reset the page and then go play that activity with another partner. So it's a great way to be, for the students to be up and walking around, connecting with each other, playing each other's fact and fib at the beginning of the year. So I'll show you really quickly what that looks like. I would convert this, I'm using that class management, to an individual handout. So now each of you will have your own copy. When you, now you should see a start button on your screen. As soon as you hit start, you now will be able to open up, I'll open the teacher handout. So we always have a teacher version in the bottom right corner that I can access. I'm gonna click the teacher handout so I can model. So on the left side, I'm gonna use that text button again, and I'm gonna click anywhere on my screen. You can of course adjust the color, you can adjust the text, type of text that you have, what have you. Do that. And then you can, what you want to do, you can type your answer, your 3 facts and 3 fibs. You do not want to type them all in one text box though, because we want them to be movable by our students. So I am going to resize it so it's a little bit bigger. And I'm going to just put that over here. You can also use the shortcut like Control D. So I already have the right size and everything. And now I'm going to change it to have my next sentence. And so essentially you're doing the same thing where you're typing in all of your facts and fibs, but you want to be mixed up so it's not too obvious which are true and which are not. And each of you should be doing that.
Casey, when you go back to the, oh, sorry. Will you go back?
Go ahead.
Yep. To that page, will you show how to get to the teacher handout from there?
Yes. So to get to the teacher version, you have right now, if you're as a teacher, you're going to see all of your students listed, but in the bottom right corner, you're always going to have a teacher handout. So if you want to model for your students what your expectations are for her, you can, or for them, you can click that teacher handout. That will open your version so you can model what you want your students to do. Other questions?
Not right now.
All right. So essentially what we're going to do in just a moment is we're going to leave my class as a student, and we're actually going to build a super sort game, fact and fiction about you. And then we're going to create that graphic organizer so your students can create their own version of the game that they could play by walking up to their different partners. And you may notice that we have some green check marks here. That is usually when you are finished with your activity. That's what you want to do. And then I can note as a teacher to check in. One other tip that I love to use the done button, the green check mark button, to give students the opportunity to share whether they're willing to share their work with the class. So I'll say if I'm looking for students to share their work, I can say, if you're comfortable sharing your work today, click done. I will only share student work that has a green check mark. So sometimes I'll use it traditionally to say that they're done with your activity, but sometimes that'll be an indicator that they're willing to have their work on display for their peers. All right, so what you're going to do now is you are going to, in the top left corner, you should have 3 horizontal white lines, or you may even have a door. I want you to click on that, and I want you to leave my class, because I'm going to have you join as a teacher so you can actually build this activity alongside me. So I see a lot of people leaving my class, which is great. I can always edit and remove people as well, but I will let you guys leave my class on your own. So again, you're just going to hit that, those horizontal white lines are the door that you see, and leave my class. And I'm going to go ahead and end this session for right now. So even if you are not in my session, or even if you have not left my class yet, you will be taken to a page that says that waiting for your teacher to start the lesson. You should still be able to click the door or those horizontal white lines to leave my class. So let me end my lesson. Okay, so what you need to do is you actually need to sign into your Lumio account. Kat will go ahead and put the link to sign into Lumio into the chat as well to make it easy for you. But if you just go to golumio.com, you will be able to sign in with your Microsoft or your Google account. Once you've signed in, if you'll just let Kat know in the chat that you are looking at your library inside of Lumio and ready to go, that will let me know that, that we can move on. I don't want to leave anyone behind. So just give Kat an indication if you're ready to start building. And we'll just give it a couple more seconds, and we'll start walking in. And if you need me to slow down, or if you need me to repeat any directions along the way, just put that in the chat. Kat will pause me so that we can go back over. I don't want to leave anyone behind, but I also don't want you to feel like you're just waiting and waiting and waiting either. All right, so here we are at our main dashboard. And I think most of you probably have seen what this looks like, or maybe played around even a little bit through the last couple of days with Lumio. But I'm just going to highlight a couple of things, do a quick little field trip. So first of all, you'll notice when you're signed in that you are connected to My Library. The My Library is all of your stuff. I think about that as like my filing cabinet, right? Then right next to that, the Lumio library, that's a different, like that's going to like the bookstore, like the educational bookstores, or going to my friend and getting a cool new lesson, things like that. Now, I will just highlight, there was a lot, I think 29 new resources added to the featured section yesterday, a lot of back to school fun. So I welcome you guys to take a look at that a different day. But there's a lot that you can be adding to your library. And remember that all of those things can be customized or added to your own library, or mixed in with different lessons that you have. So that's the Lumio library. That's if I want to go borrow some content from my neighbor, from other educators, and put that into my library. So I'll go back to my library over here. And then we have on the left side, we have our import button and our new button. You can use it just depending on how you start. Like if you want to start with content you already have, you can start with that import button. Notice that right now you can import editable PowerPoint. So when your PowerPoints come in, if you use that button, you will be able to edit them right within Lumio, and all of your objects will be movable, which is really great. And something that will be coming for our Google content and our PDFs as well. So eventually all of our content that we import will have that ability to edit right within Lumio, which is awesome. I can import from my computer. Now, those of you that are Microsoft users, that means that you can pull things in from your OneDrive. While we don't see OneDrive as a button like we do for Google Drive, I can go and add things to my OneDrive because I have my OneDrive connected to my computer. So it's easy for me to pull from there as well. So just know that if you're a Microsoft user. And then I have my Google Drive that I can pull from, and then of course reuse any of the resources that are saved in my library. So even things that I pulled from the Lumio library and put in my library, now I can reuse and mix and match with other content that I add. Today, I'm going to start with the new button. So I'm going to click on this new button here. And that brings up all of the different types of things that we have available for us to use right within Lumio. So we're focusing on the templates down here, and we're creating a game-based activity. So I want you to click on, we'll just go back one to make sure we all are there. Click on the new button, and then you're going to click on game-based activities. Now, one of the things I will really encourage you to do is to always look at these games with a flexible eye. There's so many different ways that you can use them beyond the way that they were intended. So for example, a flip out, I love to use this as a choice board instead of digital flashcards. It's a quick and easy way to make a choice board. Label reveal, instead of just having it label and tell what that part is, like telling what a ribosome is or tell what the cell wall is, I'll have my students have to do a task like create an analogy for the cell membrane to show the function of the cell membrane. So you can really change how you use these tools. Fill in the blank. A lot of my kinder and first grade teachers get scared when they see this preview and think, oh, that's too many words for my kindergartners, especially at the beginning of the year. But you're in charge of putting content in there. So it could be letters of the alphabet with letters missing. It could be used for math equations. I've seen an algebra teacher use this to create, for students to think about what steps go in which order to solve an equation. So there's so many different ways that you can use the tools here. So be really flexible with the way that you look at them when you start to explore the different games available. We have a great game-based activity toolkit that can really help you too. It shows you how to use games that hit different levels of Bloom's taxonomy. So I'll show you where that is at the end of the session as well. So we're going to actually hit super sort today. That's what I use for the fact and fiction. So I'm going to click on super sort. And with any game that you create, you're going to have like a little wizard that you follow the directions of to put in your content. So really easy to do. Now, just a couple of things to think about. In the way that I created mine previously, I actually just put a period in my required category name because I wanted to use those Bitmojis instead of having text. For today's purpose, I'm going to just type fact here, and I'm going to type fiction here. But if you want to use an image instead of words like I did with those emojis, you can put a period as your placeholder so that doesn't get in the way of your picture. Then underneath fact, you are just going to type a variety of facts about yourself. And then underneath fiction, you're going to write some things that are not true about you. You can, of course, also add images if you would like to do that instead. You can really customize this to be whatever you want it to be. So I'm just going to type a couple of things in, and I'll let you guys do the same. And you don't have to have the same number of facts and the same number of things that are not true. You can choose to have more of one or less than the other, completely up to you.
I think I may have to add, I love writing with a flare pen to mine.
Yes, that's a
hard,
good one.
that is a hard truth.
Yeah. I love those flare pens. I have a whole plethora of them on my desk right now.
Me too. And they have scented ones now, Casey.
Oh, do they? I did not realize that.
Yes.
All right. So you can add as many facts and as many fibs about you as you would like. Again, you will be able to edit this. So as we go on in just a moment, we're going to go on to the next piece. You may want to make yours look a little bit different. You may want to add those Bitmojis. You may want to customize yours in some kind of fun way after the fact. So I'll show you how to edit it. For turning it in as part of the Ambassador application, though, today, you can just keep it really simple. Even if your activity is not completely done, that's okay, because I know you're here with me working as we fill that in that application. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to finish your last sentence. And then I'm going to show you one other thing before we move on to next and choosing our background. All right, if you will peek back at my screen so you can see my screen, one of the things I just wanted to show you really quickly is how easy it is to add images to any of your content or to any of your games. So if I click on the mountain in the top and the bottom in the corner over here, I can either do a Bing safe search for images, or I can select images that I have already saved. So I will say I love to build things and make them look a certain way. So a lot of times I may create little game-based pieces using a Google slide or using Canva, and then I'll save them to my computer. If I want a picture and text together, I might do that as well. But what's really great is I don't have to do that. I can also search for online images, and there's great images here. They're Creative Commons licensed and free for us to use. So like if I wanted to search for Dr. Pepper, for example, I could just search for that and find an image to pull in. And you just click on it and you click OK. So you can do that really simply and keep yourself moving along fast when you're creating these. So totally up to you. Some people I know like to spend a lot of time on things and at building process, and some people like, I just need to get it done and move on. We have so much to do as teachers and our time is limited. So once you have your facts and your fibs about yourself, you're going to hit next. Now, there are a variety of backgrounds that you can choose from, and you can use these backgrounds. Today, I'm just going to choose one that lives here. But what I did for the one that I shared with you earlier is I did do a custom background, and I will say I searched for the background. I just searched an image for, well, I'll show you really quickly. I'll click on custom so I can show you. But for the custom version, you'll have this like mountains. Wherever you see mountains, you can search for images. So what I did for mountains is for the background, I just clicked here and I searched for chalkboard. And just found one that worked for me, and I clicked OK and save. And immediately that makes that background for you. You can do the same thing. So if I wanted to add that Bitmoji, I could do that with this mountain right here. And right here, if you had some other image you wanted to use, you could do that as well. Like if you wanted to use like a check mark for facts and an X for fiction, you could do that. For down here, I just searched for a square, and I found like a cool frame of one that was just like blue edged, and I used that. So you can search. I didn't add anything or make anything crazy to build that previous one. But for today, I'm going to hit that previous button. And I'm just going to choose the plain blue background for today. And then I'm going to, well, maybe I'll do the pirates. My kids always like the pirates. Blowing other ships up is always fun. So I'm going to click the pirate, and I'm going to click finish. So just like that, we've built the game, and it's ready to be played by our students. And you'll be able to see a preview, and I'll show you where the edit button is. Kat, any questions that have come up while we were building that game?
No questions per se, but when we get back to our homepage, can you show everyone where to request a feature?
Yes, I absolutely will. Okay, just so you know, once you've created that, you're going to be in editing mode. So you'll have this blue bar across the top. You'll see a blue rectangle in the bottom left corner so you can add more content. This is where you can edit, make changes and things like that. So a couple of things I want to point out. If you didn't finish, or if you decide you want to do some customization to your background later, when you open your file, when you're at your game, you'll see an edit activity right above your game. You'll click that, and that will bring up that same wizard, and you can make any changes that you want. So if you do want to do more customization, or if you want to change your facts and fibs, what have you, you can do that. You'll also notice in the top right corner, there's a way to record audio. So if you want to give your students audio instructions on this activity, you could do that too. But for right now, we're going to add the next page, which is the activity that our students will do. So first they're going to play and learn about me as the teacher, but then we're going to have them create their own fact and fiction game. It won't be a game quite like mine, but it'll be still fun for them to do. So in the bottom left corner over here, you're going to see that plus sign. You'll click on that, and that's going to bring up that same dashboard we saw earlier. But this time, instead of clicking game-based activities, we're going to go right underneath it and click the purple icon for graphic organizers. So I'm going to click on graphic organizers, and there's a variety of different ones that you can pull from. I actually used the reading response one for the activity that we're doing today. So I'm going to show you how you can customize these. So just because it says scientific method doesn't mean it has to be used for that purpose. Just because it says story map doesn't mean you have to use it that way. You can use these in any way that you want because you can customize the text, delete the text, what have you. So we're going to click on reading response. And that will immediately add this page here. So right now, this is set up to be truly a reading response activity. I don't want it to be used that way. So I can actually come in and click on any text. You'll notice that it's locked in place so our students can't make changes to it. I'm going to unlock it, and then I can just delete it. So I'm going to come in here and unlock this text and just delete. I'm going to leave the plot and the characters because I'm just going to customize that text for now, but I am going to have to unlock it.
Casey,
yes.
Can we show participants that you got here again? How did you add that slide?
Yes, absolutely. So the way that you're going to add this slide here is in the bottom left corner, there's a blue bar with a plus sign on it. You're going to click on that. And right below game-based activities, you'll see a purple graphic organizer button. You're going to click on that and you're going to choose reading response. So you just click on reading response and that will pull one in. So just one more time, you're going to click on that blue plus button in the bottom left corner. Click on the purple graphic organizer button and then click on reading response and that will pull in this activity. And then what you're going to do is just click on any text. When you click on it, you'll see a lock button and you'll click that lock button to unlock it. And then you can delete the text. I'm leaving character, setting, and plot because I'm just going to edit that text. So I'm unlocking it still so I can edit it, but I'm not going to actually delete those three things. All right, so now I'm going to go back to characters. I've unlocked it, but I want to change that to say facts. So I'm going to double click on characters and I'm going to highlight that. And I'm going to change it to facts. You too can change like the text if you want. You can customize the text. You can customize the type of text you're using, whether it's bold, all of those things. You can resize it.
Now, Casey, have we talked about why things would be locked?
Yeah, so the reason we want to lock things in place is it keeps our students from being able to make edits to those things. So sometimes I want to have a text box that they can edit, and I won't lock that in place. But if I don't want them to move things around, then I will lock it down. And that way students can't mess with it. So anything that you don't want them changing, you want to lock down, whether it's text, whether it's images. You can see even this background has a lock on it, and that means the background, like the students can't move or resize this background, which is the graphic organizer itself. Now, if you want, one of the things I think I'm going to do is I already know that I have facts, the size, font, and the look that I want it to be. So I'm actually going to go ahead and click and delete settings. And I'm just going to click on facts and use Control or Command D to duplicate it. So I have two now, and I'm going to drag the other facts over. And now I'm going to double click in there, highlight, and I'm going to add say fiction or fibs, what have you. If yours goes to the next line like mine, you'll see that there's a little blue dot in the center that I can drag and I'll resize it so that it's all on one line. So you want to type fact and fiction and move it on your page where you want it. And now to lock it, you're going to click on it, click on the text to lock, and you'll click on that down arrow in the top right corner. And one of your options is locking it. So now, again, my students can't move or change that text. And then for the plot, I'm going to write the directions, which is write 3 facts and 3 fibs about yourself. I'm going to actually stretch this out because it's all going on a line there. Do not put I'm going to say about yourself in the space below. Do not put your answers, or I'm going to say mix up your answers. Mix up your statements. You can make this, you can write this however you want. I'm going to center it. I think I'm going to change the text and make it a different color. And again, I'm going to move this where I want it, and then I'm just going to lock it down. So now my students don't have the ability to move the background or resize it or any of the text here. They're just going to be able to follow the directions. Any questions, Kat?
Nope, we're good in the chat.
All right. So the last thing that you would want to do, and you can choose when you want to do it. So a lot of times I will wait to convert this till I'm doing this live with my students so they can't just jump in and start working. But you can also use this magic wand. There's a magic wand in the top right corner, and you can convert the page while you're in editing mode. So it's ready to go. Your students will see a start button as soon as they get to this page and be ready to get to work. Totally up to you whether you want to do it live or already have it set up. For today, I'm going to go ahead and set it up so you can see what that magic wand does and how it works. So I'm going to click this magic wand. It gives me the option of making this an individual handout. Each student gets their own copy, a group workspace, students working in small teams, or a whole class whiteboard. In this case, I want every student to have their own copy because they're essentially creating their own version of a fact and fiction game. So I'm going to make individual handout. And just like that, it is. Notice where it says reading response. You can actually click on there and change that to a different title if you want. You don't have to, though. You can leave it as well. Completely up to you.
Casey,
and then notice just like...
Can you walk through the magic wand process again?
Yes. So this is actually a perfect opportunity to do that. So notice, like, if you've connected or converted yours to a handout of some sort or an activity of some sort, if you ever want to make a change, maybe you see that you misspelled something or you want to change the directions of some sort, if you click the edit activity right above it, it will go back to where it's not converted. This is a view only page for students. So if I want to make any changes, add anything I can. And then again, in the top right corner, you'll see a magic wand right next to the place where you can record audio for your students. There's a magic wand. You'll click that, and then you'll click either individual handout, group workspace, or whole class whiteboard. And in this case, I want each student to have their own copy. So I'm going to convert to an individual handout. You only need to do this on pages that you want your students to interact with. So if you only want your students to read something and not be able to annotate or type, you can just leave it view only. But if you want your students to interact with a page in some way, you want to click the magic wand and choose whether you want them to work individually, in small groups, or as a whole class. So I'm going to click individual handout. And just like that, it's set up and ready for my students. Okay, and so last step, we're coming up on close on time. Last step, we're gonna before we do the application process. In the top left corner, notice that mine says untitled. I'm tied to my Google Drive. My Lumio is tied to my Google Drive. So I don't know if those of you that use Google have ever searched your Google Drive for untitled, but it is a scary thing in my life. So I want to make sure to give it a title. So I'm going to click on the title and make sure it's highlighted. I'm going to change this to fact and fiction activity, or you can call, back to school activity, what have you. Give it a name that makes sense to you. Your work always is saving automatically. So you will notice that mine says saved past tense. You never want to hit finish editing or close your tab until it says saved past tense. If it says saving, let it do its job before you close. Okay, and then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit finish editing, and that's going to take me to the back to my library inside of Lumio. So I'm going to click finish editing, and I'm back in my library, and you're going to notice that you have this activity you just built right inside of your library. And you can start this activity, you can edit this activity to make changes. In our bottom right corner, you have those 3 dots. So if you want to rename your activity, or edit is also here. If you wanted to share this activity for students to do independently as a center or as a station, you could do that. You could get a share link. If you want to share this with a fellow colleague so that they have the bones of the activity and they just have to switch the facts and the fibs to make it about themselves, you can share a teacher share link with students and with your fellow colleagues. We're going to actually use this teacher share link in just a moment too. You can also always make a copy. So if you have multiple classes, if you may be a high school teacher or you're departmentalized, you will want to have a copy for each of your classes so that you don't have 150 kids in one lesson. Okay, right now I want you to go ahead and click those 3 horizontal dots and click share link. And I want you to get the teacher link. So you're going to copy this teacher link. You're going to need that in just a moment. So you're going to copy that teacher link. I will show you this stuff again in just a moment. So the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to fill out the ambassador application, and we're going to paste this teacher link that for the lesson we just created. Even if yours is not perfect and not completely finished, that's okay. You can still submit it. Just copy that. And we're going to do the application. Kat's going to put the a link to the ambassador application in the chat, or I can as well. But you can also, I'm going to just search really quickly. There we go. So I'll put this in the chat too, in case I can't remember if I left it for you, Kat, to have. So I'll place it in the chat right now. You're going to click on this link here. Oh, Kat got it. So now it's in there twice. Margie, I will show you the Bitmoji piece at the end. Okay, so once you're on the application, pretty simple. You're going to put in your first and last name, your email address, your school name, the district if you have one, what country you're from, all of those basic things. What tools do you use? Do you only use Lumio? Do you use smart displays? What do you use? Just kind of know that. We have a couple of questions because that helps us know a little bit more about you and what your strengths are and what types of things you love, like what technology you love. I always like to see what tools you guys love that I also love. But notice here where it says submit an example of how you are using one of the smart tools. We're going to actually paste our teacher share link in here. So I'm going to click in this space and do Control V. Oops, let's not do the application. Let me go back I'm going to pop back over to my Lumio tab. You can always find your Lumio tab because it says Lumio, but also has that Firefly. So I'm going to pop back over to my Lumio tab. And I'm going to copy that teacher share link. As a reminder, to get the teacher share link, you're just going to click on the 3 dots in the bottom corner of the thumbnail, click share link, and you want this top one, the teacher version. That's also the one you would share with fellow colleagues. And then I'm going to pop back to my ambassador application, and I will paste that teacher share link in that space. Finish filling out the remainder of the application, and then you'll hit submit right there. Anyone need to see anything again, Kat? Are there any questions that have come in?
So Casey, we are getting a question about the referral code.
Oh, just put Lumio Palooza in there. That would be great. Or you can put my name, but Lumio Palooza is easiest.
And then if anybody has any questions that Casey needs to show, feel free to put them in the chat and I will make sure to convey them.
Yes, and I saw someone with a Bitmoji question, so I will answer that as well. So just for that person, I just want to make sure that I get all the other important stuff out for everyone.
Can we do the 3 dots, but a little bit slower so everyone can kind of see that process?
Yeah, so when you're in my library, on every single thumbnail of every lesson that you have, whether it's something you created or something that you got from the Lumio library, every thumbnail will have these 3 horizontal dots in the bottom right corner of the thumbnail, right next to the title. When you click on those 3 dots, there's different options, things that you can do. We want to share a link. So you're going to click on the share link button. When you click on the share link button, a new window is going to pop up and it's going to have 2 links. The top is a teacher share link. That's the one you want for today's application. And that's also what you would use if you create something and want to share it with a colleague. Or if you want to create something and share it on social media, that would be great too. The bottom link is a way to get a student share link so students can work on a lesson as a center, a station, at home. They can work asynchronously. But the top teacher share link is the one we want. So you're going to copy that link by clicking that copy button. And that is the link you're going to want to paste in your Ambassador application where it says submit an example.
And Casey, can you kind of talk to participants just a little bit? I know some people have not had an opportunity to completely finish the file, and I just want to reassure them that that is okay.
Yeah, so if you did not finish, that's okay. Still do that teacher share link. I know you were with me today, and I know we have a limited amount of time to build, so I don't expect yours to be perfect. You can always edit later so that you can use it with your students. But for today's purposes, for the application process, I'm going to honor anyone that submits a lesson, an activity, even if yours is incomplete. So you are fine still sharing that teacher share link. It doesn't have to be completely finished. All right, as you guys are finishing up the application process, I just wanted to give you a little bit information on what's to come next as well. So once you fill out the Ambassador application, I'm going to get an email with all of your information, and then I input that into our system. And what happens after I input it is you will get an email from globalcommunities@smarttech.com. That's actually an email from me. And so you'll see an email from globalcommunities@smarttech.com. And there's a button in there that says join now. You want to click to join now because that's going to give you access to the Ambassador platform where you can start to build relationships, start to find out all those early, all the features that are coming, get those tips and tricks and things like that. So you're going to want to hit that join now button, and that'll give you access to the community. And then once you're in the community, introduce yourself, start looking at some of the questions or some of the posts, like things, ask your own questions. Or like I said, if you are right now just wanting to look around, that's fine as well. I know that happens for many of us. So again, you're gonna be looking for an email from me. It should be hopefully to you guys by tomorrow. I do have to travel this afternoon after this session to a different city to do some training tomorrow. So if it doesn't get to you tonight, it should hopefully by Friday morning, but my goal is to get all of the emails out by the end of today so you can join that Ambassador platform. And then just as a reminder, every month we have a Lumio challenge that you can always share to Lumio, #Lumio challenge. We have monthly newsletters go out and we always share the challenge there, but I also share it ahead of time in our Ambassador platform. And every challenge is different. They're always usually bite-sized pieces, things to try, so you can get to know a little bit more about Lumio along the way. This month's challenge, we kept it easy. We just said, share something, one of the takeaways you have from Lumio Palooza to #Lumio challenge. And then I do give gift cards away for different winners each month. So I hope that you'll share some of your key takeaways from any sessions that you participated in Lumio Palooza this week.
Casey, can you talk a little bit about the certified trainer cohort that's available within the Ambassador program?
Absolutely. Well, I set that up. Kat, will you go ahead and give the survey link so everyone has it? I'm actually going to open the Ambassador platform so I can show what it is. All right. So you are getting some extra information, the survey link and all of that. And I will be on a few minutes extra. If you have to go, I want to make sure you have the survey link, though. I want to respect your time. And I know that there is one more session coming up. This is what the Ambassador app platform looks like. And there's all different, there's just like the main feed, there's different groups you can be part of. Over on the left side, there's some different groups. So if you want to know like Lumio specifically or what's new, you can look in those sections. And then we do have a Lumio certified trainer cohort. This is a private group that you can request to join. And this will give you access to our coursework that you can do independently, asynchronously as you have time, and submit it. And you will be working towards getting your certified trainer badge as well. And that will put you in your certified training community. And this is where you can get help with any of your modules and things as well. So this is a great place because you have a lot of people here to ask questions, get answers, get support, both from our team, but also from fellow people going through the process with you. And this is a platform you'll have access to once you hit that join now button in the email that I'll send out to you. All right. And then the last thing is we have these resources. So everything you need to know is right here. So go ahead and use this. The Learn Lumio page is brand new and really great. All of our social channels are great to follow. So I hope I'll see you in all of those places. We have applied together to be an ambassador today. That's this button here. So you should be finished with that process. But if you didn't get to it or need to come back to it, you'll find that right here so you can finish as well.
Casey, there's a great question in the chat. Oh,
yes. Go ahead.
How long is being an ambassador good for? Like, is there some sort of renewal process, or once you're in, you're in?
Yeah, so the ambassador platform, once you're in, you're in. You can level up by doing different things like helping with webinars, like a lot of our ambassadors were doing today, or the last 2 days, doing things like that, where you can level up to be a silver or a gold, or even part of our innovator group. But once you're an ambassador, you're an ambassador. Now our certified trainers program's a little bit different. You do have to be active in our group. You need to be sharing resources as well. I think it's like 2 resources a year, and and then participating in some of our events so you can continue your learning. So coming to Lumio Palooza, for example, is a way to continue your learning. So that's what you have to do to maintain your certification. But ambassadors, once you're in, you're in. Any other questions? Hey, anyone that wants to see the, oh yes, go ahead.
In the ambassador platform itself, is there a way to see the difference between whether you are an ambassador or a trainer?
Yeah, so the way that, and we're gonna be switching over to our level 2. So some of this will change in a bit, but let me just go in, and here's one of our, oops. So for example, here's one of our ambassadors. You'll see for her, she right along next to her name, it'll show that she is a smart innovator, she's a gold ambassador, and she's a Lumio certified trainer. So whatever you're working on, if you are going through the Lumio certified trainer cohort, instead of saying trainer, it'll say trainer cohort. So we know that you're in the process. And then once you finish, it'll switch to say Lumio certified trainer. And then the color might change on whether you're a gold or a silver or a bronze as well. Any other questions, Kat?
No, ma'am. We are all set in the chat.
Okay, so those of you that need to hop off, please feel free. If you are interested in seeing the Bitmoji part of how I customize that, I will walk you through those steps really quickly. Completely up to you. All right, so basically what I did to get the Bitmoji is I do have the Bitmoji extension on my browser. So in the, I went to the Chrome store because I'm using Chrome, and I got the Bitmoji extension. So it's actually right next to my URL right here. So you can get your Bitmoji extension. Let's see if I'm signed in or not. Get signed in really quickly. There. All right, so now I'm signed in. I'm going to go back over here. So now when I click on that Bitmoji, it's going to pull up like all of the Bitmoji. So any that you want to use. So I can actually search for fact and notice that there's a bunch of options over here. So I can choose one of these. So I'm going to choose this one right here. And then I'm just going to save image as. Let's save it into, I'm just going to save it into downloads for right now. Fact. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing, fiction, and choose a different one for fiction. Let's do this one and save image as fiction. I see someone raise their hand. Make sure that you put any questions you have, and I'll go through this again too. But again, just as a reminder, I first have to put the Bitmoji extension on so that I have it. So I'm going to go to like the Chrome store and search Bitmoji and add that as an extension to my browser. Once you've added as an extension, then you can come in here. It will prompt you the first time to sign in with whatever Bitmoji account, or if you don't have one, you can create one. And then you can search for different Bitmojis. You can search for different poses, all those different types of things. And then anything you want, you can just right click on it and save it. Save that image as, and save it anywhere on your computer. Kat, before I go on, what question, or was there a question posted?
So there is a question. Can you show how, when you are in a presentation, how you would exit out of that to come back to your My Library page?
Yeah. So I'm going to actually start my activity really quickly. So when you are showing or sharing your activity, like I am right now, so I can see I have that black toolbar going down the left side. There's those 3 horizontal lines in the top left corner. You're going to click on those and you're going to end your lesson. When you end your lesson, that should take you back to the My Library page. And then let's say you were in editing mode. If you're in editing mode, you're just going to hit that finish editing, and that will also take you back to the main page. Other questions?
I think we are good for now.
Okay, then I'm going to show you really quickly how I then put my Bitmoji on my fact and fiction. So I'm going to actually edit that activity we just built. So I'm going to hover over and hit edit, or you can click the 3 dots to hit edit. And remember, I told you when you get in the game, if you want to make changes to it, there's an edit button right above the game. So I'm going to click that, and that's going to bring my wizard up. Because I want to use my Bitmojis, I'm going to actually delete the word fact and just put a period as a holder space so it won't disrupt my fact and fiction too much. And I'm going to do the same thing for the word fiction. I'm just going to change that to a period. That's kind of my hack. So we don't see fact. You could also just use a fun Bitmoji and have the word type next to it, but this makes it kind of come together a little bit more. Okay, so I put the 2 periods instead of the word fact and fiction. And now I'm going to hit next. And this time I'm going to do a custom background instead of choosing one of the pre-made backgrounds. So I'm going to click on custom. And then I'm going to hit next. So this is the page where we can now do our customization. So notice that I have my 2 periods instead of it saying fact and fiction in these squares right here. I'm going to click on the mountain of the first square, which is my fact square. I'm going to click on that mountain in the top right corner of the gray square. And when I do that, I get a little image button. And you want to hit the button in the middle, the image. Or you could even drag and drop your image. I could do that too. So I can drag and drop my image right here, or I can click on there to go find it. Either way. My image, just so you know, is like it's down here from earlier. It's down in my Chrome bar, so I can drag it up. But if maybe you saved this earlier, you can click on the mountain, choose select image, and then go find that fact picture and add it, just like so. And then I'll click OK and save. And so now you see you have that fact button instead of the period. The period's still there, but not as noticeable. And then I'm going to do the same thing, except for this time for fiction, for the other squares. I'm going to click that mountain in the top right corner. I can drag and drop, or I can click that mountain and select. Either one works. In this case, I'm going to drag and drop. I already showed you the other one. So now I have fact and fiction. And now that is there. So now I have my two images here. And I want to change my background so it's not this kind of gray wavy background. So in the top right corner of that main section, I'm going to click the mountains. And this time, this is where I just search for chalkboard. You can search for any kind of background that you want, but I like just a simple chalkboard background. Goes with the school theme. And then OK and save. Note too that you can, let's see with the text, like I can click the A and it'll switch from black to white. So I can see which looks better. In this case, white shows better on my chalkboard than the black does. So I'm going to leave it white. You can leave it completely like this, or if you want an image behind your words, you can click that mountain too to do images, or like I could do like a square or rectangle behind there. I'm going to leave mine just the way it is though for today, because I think it looks pretty good. And then I'm going to hit finish. And now it's going to look very different than it did before. It'll have in a second, there we go, my Bitmoji showing up. It looks like I'm missing a tooth because where my period placement is though, but that's all right. I can move things around a little bit more too with that. Okay. Any questions about that, Kat?
Sorry, I was responding in the chat. Can I
Okay.
copy a slide from one lesson and add it to another? So how do you mix match resources?
Great question. So I'm going to hit, I'll show you. Actually, I can show you from here. So I'm actually I'm in editing mode, right? So you know you're in editing mode because you have that finish editing button in the top left corner and you have a blue bar and you see your slides kind of going down the side page. When you're in editing mode, you can click on that blue bar right here in the bottom left corner and notice that I can import resources. When I click on import resources, I can pull in my PowerPoints, I can pull in PDFs from my computer, I can pull in Google Slides or Docs. But this is what's really important is pulling things from my library. So if I want to reuse something from my library, I can click on this button here and it's going to pull up all of the content I have in my library. So if I want to reuse, let's say the game I had already created, I could click on this activity because that's where the game lives and pull it in. Or maybe I want to give my students this fun graph to do when they're done with their fact and fiction game. So I'm going to click on the graph of me and I'm going to hit select. And what's great is I can choose what pages or how many pages that I want to pull in. So I'm going to select all. I only want to bring in the second page here. So I'm going to click on this button. So only bringing that page in and I'm going to click add. So that allows me to mix and match activities from all different places. I can move things around. So I actually want to drag this because I want this to be the last thing my students do. And I, again, can convert that into a handout if I want my students to be able to work on it independently as well. So again, to mix and match, you're going to click on that blue bar, and then you can pull from your library anything you've built in the past. You can add to a new activity, or if something that you've gotten from the Lumio library, like this activity that you see here, I can pull that in as well. Any other questions, Kat?
I think we are good.
All right. Well, I'm so excited to have all of you join our Ambassador platform. I'm excited to get to know you guys. I hope that you will reach out and feel like you can connect with me and share any ideas, share any suggestions with you. We want this to be a community that feels open and feels comfortable for everyone to be a part of. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I will put my contact information back up here just in case you did not get it initially. And Kat will also add my information to the chat. But I also always welcome emails. I always welcome connection with all of you. And I love different ideas and different feedback and different suggestions as well. So I look forward to getting to know everyone. And thank you guys so much for participating in Lumio Palooza and joining this webinar today.